The sun beats down on the ochre walls of the pterosaur's abyss, turning the canyon into an oven. Dust, fine as pollen, coats every surface, muffling sound and tasting of thirst. For 30-1 suns, the river clan has been trapped here. For 30-1 suns, the only way out has been blocked. They are a society of Homo erectus, a people of the plains and the winding riverbeds, now reduced to prisoners of stone. Their world has shrunk to this single, suffocating corridor of rock, a tomb that has not yet been sealed. The air is heavy with the silence of a held breath, punctuated only by the drone of heat miners, stunned insects, and the scraping of stone on stone as Kale, the elder, sharpens a flint that will likely never taste blood. The beast is a fixture, a monument of malevolent patience at the canyon's mouth. They do not need to see it to know it is there. Its presence is a pressure on the air, a loathsome that vibrates up through the soles of their feet, twice a day. At dawn and dusk, it moves, and the ground trembles with the gait of a god. The smell of it, a foul miasma of carrion and reptilian musk, wafts in on the hot breeze, a constant reminder of the power that holds them captive. It is a Giganotosaurus, larger than any predator in the collective memory of the clan, a true titan from the annals of prehistoric life. It had trailed them for days after the Great Fire drove them from the savannah, and with a terrible, simple cunning, it herded them into this natural trap. Now, it simply waits. It is an act of siege warfare, and the clan understands, with a cold dread, that they are losing. The signs of their slow decay are everywhere. The hollows in their cheeks are deeper, their movements more lethargic. Isha cradles her child, who no longer cries from hunger but whines with a low, constant ache. She distracts him with a polished river stone. Its cool smoothness a poor substitute for the marrow-minus rich bones he should be gnawing. The hunters, men like Young or Rowe, sit with their spears lying useless beside them. Their muscles, once squirreled springs of power, have gone slack with inactivity and want in their primary cave dwelling. The lithic scatter from their tool miners making covers the floor, a testament to a once minus industrious life. Now, the sharp minus-edged flakes are just debris. There is nothing left to butcher. What if dinosaurs were still alive? It is not a question for a distant dinosaur documentary. For these ancient humans, it is the brutal, suffocating answer to why they will die. The clan's collective knowledge of survival skills, honed over countless generations of hominid history, is being systematically dismantled by a single, unblinking predator. The turning point comes not with a roar, but with a whisper in the suffocating stillness of the cave. Kale sits apart, his back against the cool stone, his eyes not on the clan but on the ceiling above. He is not looking at rock. He is tracing the lines of force and fracture, a map of stress visible only to him. For days, while the others stared at the beast below, Kale has been staring at their prison. He has been studying the great spire that juts from the canyon's eastern rim, a jagged tooth of stone that leans out over the abyss. It is a thing of immense weight and precarious balance, a column of ancient clastic sediments layered like brittle bone, weathered by eons of wind and rain. To the others, it is just another piece of the landscape. To Kale, it is an idea, a terrible, brilliant idea. He rises, his old bones creaking, and summons a row and two of the other hunters with a flick of his wrist. He leads them not to the canyon mouth, but to a small, flat patch of dust in the back of the cave. There, with the tip of a sharpened bone, he draws. The lines are crude, but their meaning is terrifyingly clear. He draws the canyon, the beast at its mouth, and then, with heavy, deliberate strokes, the overhanging spire. He picks up a small, flat stone and places it on the drawing of the Giganotosaurus. Then he takes a sturdy twig, wedges one end under a larger rock, and places a pebble on the other, with a gentle push on his end. The pebble on the other end leaps into the air. He repeats the motion, his gaze intense, moving from the simple mechanism on the floor to the faces of the young men. This is primitive technology at its most audacious. It is not about a sharper spear or a better hand-axe. It is about weaponizing the world itself. Oro understands first. His eyes widen. A flicker of awe and terror in their depths. The concept is almost too large to hold. To move a mountain, to kill a monster. A desperate murmur spreads through the clan as the others gather. They see the drawing. They see the small demonstration. They look from Kayla's grim face to the impossible spire high above. It is a gamble on a scale they have never conceived. The plan requires every able-minded bodied member. They must climb the treacherous cliff face, carrying massive, fire-hardened logs to use as levers. They must work in silence, directly above the sleeping predator, on a crumbling ledge where one misplaced step means a fatal plunge. This is the kind of hard choice that defines human evolution. The moment a species decides to stop being prey, a profound silence falls over them, the weight of the decision pressing down harder than the heat. Isha, clutching her child, gives a single, sharp nod. It is the only vote that matters. The certainty of a slow death here in the dust, with a chance, however slim, of a life beyond the canyon. The choice is made. The ascent begins in the ink-black hour before dawn, a vertical migration of shadows against stone. There is no sound but the scuff of bare feet on loose screen, the ragged edge breathing of the climbers. Every handhold is tested, every foothold placed with the hunter's precision. They move as one organism, a silent, sinuous chain of Homo erectus ascending their prison wall. Below, the apex predator sleeps, its colossal flank rising and falling in a rhythm that seems to shake the very bedrock. The sound of its breathing is a low, guttural thunder, a constant reminder of the stakes. Oro, near the lid, pauses, his fingers white knuckled on a ledge. He glances down at the ridged, scaly height, a landscape of reptilian power, and a cold dread coils in his gut. They are climbing the walls of a dragon's lair. At the spire's base, the air is thin and cold. The clan works with a desperate, synchronized urgency. There is no language, only a shared understanding forged in the crucible of their siege. The massive, fire-hardened logs, hauled up with agonizing effort, are wedged into deep fissures Kale had identified. Each log is a lever, a fulcrum of their hope. Their entire arsenal of osteodontographic tools, the bone picks and horn-stepped spears, feels laughably insignificant compared to the weapon they now command. The mountain itself, Cal directs them with subtle hand gestures, his face a mask of concentration. The final log is maneuvered into place, its end pointing toward the abyss. The clan members take their positions, muscles bunch, bodies braced against the ancient stone. Kale looks down one last time, his gaze sweeping over the sleeping titan. He lifts his hand, holds it for a heartbeat that stretches into an eternity, and then drops it. The clan pushes, at first. Nothing happens. There is only the groan of wood against rock, the straining of sinew. Then comes a sound from the deep earth. A low, grinding crack that travels up their bones. A spider of fractures appears at the spire's base. The great tooth of stone shudders, leaning slowly, reluctantly, out into the void. It hangs there for a terrifying moment, defying gravity, before surrendering. The fall is not a noise. It is the end of all noise. A cataclysmic roar of shearing rock that drowns out thought. A landslide of unimaginable force that plunges into the canyon. The ground heaves, and a hot, suffocating cloud of dust erupts, engulfing them. The dinosaur fight is not a battle of flesh, but of physics and desperation. They cling to the cliffside, blind and deafened, as their world comes apart. Then, as suddenly as it began, it is over. An impossible silence descends, deeper and more absolute than any they have ever known. It is the silence of absence, the silence of a tyrant's fall. As the dust settles, revealing a sky bruised with the first light of dawn, the river clan peers down into the abyss. The canyon mouth is no longer blocked by a living horror, but by a mountain of fresh rubble. There is no movement, No sound. The Giganotosaurus is gone, entombed by the very landscape it used to hold them captive. There is no roar of triumph, no celebration, only a profound, collective exhalation of breath they have held for a month. They begin their slow descent, their bodies aching, their spirits hollowed out but not broken. They walk out of the canyon, not as conquerors, but as survivors who have paid a terrible price in fear and starvation to purchase their freedom. This act, this moment of audacious, desperate engineering, will not be recorded in any history, yet it is a pivotal moment in the sprawling, unwritten epic of human evolution. Here, in a forgotten canyon, a small band of ancient humans did not simply outlast a monster. They changed the rules. They looked at the world not just as a place of threats, but as a source of weapons, a system to be understood and manipulated. This is the bedrock of our species' improbable ascent, the moment our ancestors, armed with nothing but courage and a grasp of leverage, decided to drop a mountain on a god. Their struggle is a quiet echo, a reminder that the foundation of human civilization was not laid with grand monuments, but with the desperate choices of those who refused to be prey. The narrative of survival is a river, and we've only followed one of its many currents. A strange, feathered serpent is watching from the trees.